What opened as a lighthearted and whimsical segment on the Kelly Clarkson Show quickly unraveled when Howie Mandel appeared as a guest. The early exchange featured jokes about showbiz quirks and celebrity impressions, but things took a sharp turn when Kelly asked a probing question regarding Howie's boundary-pushing interactions on prior talk shows. His playful demeanor stiffened instantly, his face visibly tensed, and those affable improvisational smiles vanished. As Kelly pressed on for more context, Mandel's posture visibly tightened. Suddenly, he removed his microphone and, with quiet resolve, declared, "I'm done with this segment," before walking off the set. The live broadcast tumbled into stunned silence and then abruptly cut to commercial, leaving viewers and the studio audience reeling from the unexpected confrontation. Behind the scenes, the energy was thick with disbelief as crew members exchanged urgent whispers and scrambled to figure out whether Mandel would return. Kelly, still seated on stage during the break, leaned toward her producers with a mixture of concern and irritation, clearly trying to decide whether to address the walk-off when cameras rolled again. In the green room, Mandel reportedly vented to a close friend about feeling blindsided by a question he believed was meant to corner him rather than invite an open conversation. Stagehands hovered nearby, glancing at each other for direction, while Kelly's longtime showrunner paced the narrow hallway, debating whether to coax Mandel back or let the moment stand as a rare unscripted spectacle. Meanwhile, audience members, half amused, half unsettled, snapped hurried texts to friends, certain they had just witnessed a headline-making TV moment unfold in real time. When the show resumed from the commercial break, Kelly tried to maintain her usual upbeat demeanor, but there was no hiding the tension that lingered in the air. She offered a light-hearted remark to smooth things over, but the absence of Howie Mandel was impossible to ignore. The camera cut briefly to his now empty chair before quickly switching back to Kelly, whose smile flickered for just a moment. The audience's polite laughter felt thinner than usual, betraying their curiosity and discomfort. Kelly pivoted to another segment, but her voice carried a subtle edge, as though she was still processing what had just happened. Behind the scenes, producers frantically relayed updates through earpieces, unsure whether Mandel might reappear or if they needed to restructure the rest of the show on the fly. The unspoken question, what exactly had happened to trigger the walk-off, hung heavy over the studio, creating an atmosphere far more charged than the typical daytime TV chatter. Behind the cameras, the scene was far from calm. Howie Mandel, still visibly agitated, paced the narrow hallway leading to the green room, gesturing animatedly as a couple of staffers tried to talk him down. His voice, though muffled to the audience, carried sharp bursts of frustration that echoed in the corridor. A producer approached cautiously, clipboard in hand, attempting to smooth over the incident by suggesting they address it on air, to control the narrative. Mandel, however, wasn't ready to budge. He waved off the idea, muttering about being set up and blindsided by the way the conversation had turned. Meanwhile, Kelly, back at her desk, was caught between keeping the show moving and her growing concern about the optics. The teleprompter rolled on, but she barely glanced at it, relying instead on quick, unscripted quips to hold the segment together. Crew members exchanged uneasy looks. Daytime talk shows thrived on fun and warmth, not simmering conflict, and the break in that formula was as jarring as it was unpredictable. Within hours, clips of the exchange between Howie Mandel and Kelly Clarkson were circulating online, racking up millions of views across social media platforms. Hashtags like #HaveAWalkOff and #KellyShowDrama began trending on X, formerly Twitter, with viewers fiercely divided over who was in the right. Some fans defended Mandel, claiming he had been provoked by a question that crossed the line, while others sided with Kelly, praising her for staying composed under pressure. Entertainment blogs churned out think pieces dissecting every gesture, every tone shift, and every micro-expression from the moment. TMZ even aired slowed-down footage, analyzing the second Howie decided to stand up and leave. Late-night hosts picked up the story, sprinkling it into their monologues with both humor and a touch of disbelief. For the show's producers, the viral surge was a double-edged sword. Ratings were spiking, but so was the scrutiny, and both Kelly and Howie's teams were suddenly in high-level talks about how, or even if, they would publicly address the incident in the coming days. The day after the walk-off, Howie Mandel's publicist released a brief statement to Entertainment Tonight, saying, Howie values open conversation but believes there's a line between candid and confrontational. he felt it was best to step away. Kelly Clarkson, meanwhile, opened her next episode by briefly addressing the situation without mentioning Howie by name, noting that live TV can get intense, and that she always aims for respectful, engaging conversations. Industry insiders hinted that producers were caught off guard by how quickly the exchange escalated, with one anonymous crew member telling Variety that you could feel the tension building from the first few minutes. Behind the scenes, NBC executives reportedly held emergency meetings to decide whether to air the full, unedited footage in reruns or replace the segment entirely. Fans, however, seemed hungry for more transparency, flooding both Mandel's and Clarkson's social media accounts with demands for the real story. The incident left both camps carefully navigating their next public moves, balancing damage control with the undeniable publicity boost. Within hours of the episode airing, clips of Howie Mandel's abrupt departure flooded TikTok, Instagram Reels, and X, formerly Twitter. The hashtag #HaveAWalkOff trended globally, racking up millions of views in just 24 hours. Some fans sided with Mandel, praising him for standing his ground and not tolerating unnecessary shade, while others accused him of overreacting to Kelly Clarkson's lighthearted jabs. A viral meme used a freeze frame of Mandel mid-walk with the caption, "When the small talk isn't small enough." Meanwhile, podcast hosts and entertainment YouTubers began dissecting the incident frame by frame, speculating about off-camera history between the two. One entertainment blogger claimed the tension might have stemmed from a private disagreement at an earlier NBC event, though neither party has confirmed this. Clarkson's fanbase launched #WestEndWithKelly in response, turning the walk-off into a full-blown fandom clash. As the online chatter intensified, both stars' management teams faced the challenge of deciding whether to lean into the buzz or try to let it die down naturally. Reports soon emerged that the clash between Howie Mandel and Kelly Clarkson may have been simmering long before the cameras rolled. According to a production source, tension sparked during the pre-interview when Mandel allegedly dismissed some of the show's planned lighthearted segments as fluff. Clarkson, known for keeping her show upbeat, reportedly pushed back, insisting that the audience tuned in for fun, not celebrity ego trips. Crew members claimed the atmosphere backstage turned frosty, with assistants whispering about a bad vibe even before filming began. Some insiders suggested that a recent disagreement over a joint charity project had strained their relationship, while others hinted at personality clashes, Mandel's dry, sometimes biting humor clashing with Clarkson's warm, folksy approach. Whether these claims are true or just gossip, they painted the televised blow-up as the final spark in a long-running powder keg. The moment footage of Howie Mandel walking off Kelly Clarkson's show hit the internet, social media exploded. Hashtags like #MandelMeltdown and #KellyKeepSchool trended within hours, with fans fiercely debating who was in the wrong. Some viewers sided with Mandel, praising him for standing his ground, and refusing to play along with what they saw as overly scripted TV banter. Others defended Clarkson, applauding her composure and professionalism in keeping the segment moving despite the awkward walk-off. Memes flooded Twitter and Instagram. Clips of Mandel leaving were set to dramatic music, while gifs of Clarkson raising her eyebrows became reaction staples. TikTok users even recreated the exchange in parody skits, adding exaggerated sound effects. By the next morning, the incident had been covered by major entertainment outlets, sparking panel discussions on whether celebrity talk shows had become too staged or too volatile. According to multiple behind-the-scenes sources, tension between Howie Mandel and Kelly Clarkson's production team had been brewing even before cameras rolled. Staff members claimed there were disagreements over the segment's direction, with Mandel reportedly unhappy about a comedic bit he felt was off-brand for him. After the walk-off, Clarkson is said to have taken a brief break before taping resumed, chatting privately with her crew to regain the room's energy. Producers scrambled to decide whether to edit the incident out entirely or lean into the publicity, ultimately opting to keep a shortened version for the broadcast. Mandel, meanwhile, reportedly left the studio without interacting further with Clarkson, though his representative later downplayed the exchange as a misunderstanding, blown out of proportion. In the days following, both stars made carefully worded public statements, Kelly emphasizing her respect for Mandel's career, and Howie expressing that he had no hard feelings, even hinting they might reunite on air someday. Still, Insiders say the moment has become a cautionary tale for talk show teams about the risks of unscripted tension. Once the clip of Howie Mandel walking off Kelly Clarkson's show hit social media, it quickly went viral, sparking a flood of divided opinions. Fans of Clarkson defended her, arguing she handled the awkward exchange with grace and professionalism, while Mandel's supporters insisted he had every right to leave if he felt disrespected. Memes, reaction videos, and heated debates flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, with hashtags like #TeamKelly and #TeamHowie trending for days. Entertainment outlets dissected every second of the footage, analyzing body language and tone to determine who had crossed the line. Late-night comedians jumped on the moment, turning it into a punchline, while morning radio shows opened phone lines for listeners to weigh in. The controversy seemed to boost ratings for Clarkson's show that week, while Mandel's podcast episode addressing the incident skyrocketed in downloads. Yet, the online discourse also highlighted a growing appetite for real, unfiltered moments on daytime TV, proving that, in an era of carefully curated celebrity appearances, a genuine clash still has the power to dominate headlines. While the public debated endlessly, insiders from the show's production began leaking their own versions of events, adding fuel to the fire. A staff member claimed that tension had been building long before the cameras rolled, hinting at a backstage disagreement over segment topics Mandel allegedly wanted to avoid. Another crew member suggested that Kelly's producers had intentionally kept those topics in to spark drama, knowing Mandel's reputation for blunt honesty would make for viral TV. Reports surfaced that, during a commercial break, producers scrambled to convince Mandel to return to the set, offering to steer the conversation elsewhere, but he refused, citing principles. One anonymous source even alleged that Clarkson herself was caught off guard and looked visibly frustrated as she left the stage during the same break to regroup. By the time the audience was dismissed, both teams had gone into full damage control mode, Clarkson's camp pushing the misunderstanding narrative, while Mandel's team hinted at disrespect, without giving specifics. These conflicting behind-the-scenes accounts only deepened the mystery, keeping fans and media outlets hooked as they tried to piece together the truth. Within minutes of the walk-off, clips of the incident flooded social media, with hashtags like #MandelMeltdown and #KellyClash trending on X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Fans were quick to pick sides, some defending Mandel for standing his ground, others blasting him for being unprofessional. Memes popped up almost instantly, with one viral post showing a photoshopped image of Mandel dramatically storming off into the sunset, captioned, "Howie's next tour." Others edited the clip to include dramatic music, making the exchange feel like a scene from a soap opera. Influencers and media personalities chimed in, offering hot takes and dissecting every micro-expression from both Mandel and Clarkson. The incident sparked broader conversations about the blurred lines between entertainment and provocation on talk shows, with some accusing producers of deliberately manufacturing conflict for ratings. Even late-night hosts couldn't resist taking playful jabs, reenacting the walk-off in their own skits. By the end of the day, millions had seen the footage, and the debate over who was truly at fault had become the internet's latest obsession. While the public feasted on the viral moment, sources inside the show described a far more tense aftermath backstage. According to one crew member, Kelly Clarkson immediately went to her dressing room after the segment, closing the door for several minutes before emerging to continue taping. Howie Mandel, on the other hand, reportedly refused to return to the set for the remainder of the day, instead leaving the studio entirely with his team. Production staff scrambled to adjust the schedule, shuffling upcoming guests and reshooting certain segments to fill the gap. Executives from the network were allegedly on the phone within minutes, discussing damage control and whether to release an official statement or let the story burn hot, then fade. Some insiders claimed this wasn't the first time Mandel had clashed with a host, while others insisted the tension was a complete surprise, pointing out that he and Clarkson had been friendly in the past. There were also whispers that the dispute might have been fueled by deeper, off-camera disagreements related to a previous project they had both been involved in. Either way, the energy in the studio was described as icy, with staff instructed to smile for the cameras, despite the backstage chaos.